Okay, thank you so much. Hi, guys. Merry Christmas.
How are
Merry
you?
Christmas.
Ralph, I want to start the conversation with you talking about the language that was used in the 80s and in the movies of the 80s. A lot of people said that the language of the movie of the 80s is right now politically incorrect. Many
Right.
people said that.
Yes.
Do you think that if today the Cobra Kai series talking about this language of the 80s, many people will criticize the series?
Well, I think there's a piece of that in the show through the Johnny Lawrence character. That's the beauty of that character. He gets to do everything that we get in trouble for doing. It's so I never Daniel LaRusso never gets to like, and if he did that, he'd be arrested. Uh, you know, it's a big part of what people find refreshing about Cobra Kai is there is this allowance because of the Johnny Lawrence character that he is stuck in that time zone, this sort of Archie Bunker, which was I don't know if you know what that character was, but way ahead of his time or behind his time, and it becomes entertaining because we are so afraid with kid gloves not to touch because they'll offend someone or some special interest group or something that you don't get to freely be yourself at times, and God knows Johnny Lawrence is himself and then some, and so that's how we get the get out of jail free card with that in that respect.
Yeah.
William, did you take a long time to accept playing the Johnny Lawrence again role, or was an easy decision?
It was it was an easy decision, but I stepped into it. If it was too good to be true. When they pitched this idea and they said Sony's behind it and Overbrook's involved and all these people have already signed off on it, and would you be willing to do this? I mean, my heart leaped, but then there's a caveat of what is the show? What is the character today? If you do the character, I don't want to double down on his, his bad guyness and just be bad the whole time. Like he has to have dimension and color. And they said, no, he'd be more of an anti-hero type of character. And so, I was in, but tentatively. And, of course, Ralph had to agree to it and he did. And we both been, we feel responsible for these characters and the franchise. So there are moments where, it goes a little too far this way and I'll pull it back or try to. But in general, we're pretty close to these characters. I'm close to the character because you personify the character. He becomes a part of you, you become a part of him. So the idea of doing that again was thrilling from the moment that they pitched it to me. But I was also like a little hesitant because if it didn't work out, if it didn't work and the show didn't get bought, then that would have been a heartbreak to go and embrace that idea again because it was so far behind me.
Ralph, the last question: how different was the training that you did of the Karate Kid movie to the one you have to do for Cobra Kai? Is biggest different?
Yeah, it's called 34 years. That's the biggest difference. Everything, it takes a lot more work to not get hurt, to stay flexible. Everything, you're just not as limber. I'm not as limber, so it requires a lot more dedication to staying healthy in doing the fight sequences and training. Some of it comes back like riding a bike, but some of it, it just takes more work to get your foot up this high. Now it's here and I have to kind of get it up there. But Billy and I work together and we have a great stunt team on the show, and that's the challenge. It's just father time. Otherwise, it feels like yesterday until the next morning. Then it feels like it's another dimension.
Ralph, William, thank you so much for being with us here in Blue Radio Colombia.
Thank you, man.
Merry Christmas.
Hi, Peyton, Mary. Thank you so much for your time. I am Gonzalo Lazari from Blue Radio Colombia. How are you?
Good, Hi, pretty good. How about you?
Thank you. Thank you. Mary, I want to start the conversation with you talking about the karate. being the karate is something that for many people has gone out of fashion. Why do you think that young people are so excited about this series?
I think there's so many different martial arts, and it's kind of finding the one that fits for you, right? But I think the coolest thing about karate, and the thing that I love, is getting to bring to life the idea that it's not just about punching and kicking, and that there's about the balance of the internal goodness that has to go into it, and learning, things like katas and pieces like that might be old fashioned, but in reality, like, create such beautiful building blocks to make something that can become so badass, but can also have the peace and serenity within it as well.
Yeah. Peyton, do you think that your role in the series empowered to young women to play a sports that has always been seen a men's sport or men martial art?
I hope so. I hope women and girls were empowered by the character, and I think a lot of women kick ass in life, and I hope that they felt like they're more welcome into the space and can see themselves in the space with a woman being represented in that. I think with Mary and I both, yeah, I hope so. But I also think women have been doing it forever anyways. I mean, I watch like Kill Bill and all these movies where women just have these intense fight scenes, and it's really cool. So I hope girls know, you should pull up a chair and go for it.
Mary, how long did you have to research about the Karate Kid saga before being the series? Have you seen?
I started my research, I guess, after I found out I had booked the show, because I had not seen the movies before then, and I didn't want to psych myself out at that point. So I held off. But once I found out that I booked it, sat down, watched the movies, and I will never forget sitting there with my boyfriend, who's a huge Karate Kid fan, watching the films for the first time, and he kept being like, "That's your dad, like that's your family, like these are the stories." And I like to imagine that like these are the stories that growing up, this is what Samantha heard sitting on her dad's lap when she was little. And the back in my day, like his back in my day was like, I remember when I had to push my mom's car to get it started as we drove cross country, like that. Those are like her family stories that have been passed down. And so it was really cool to watch it from that perspective.
Mari, really in simple words, why this series is so coolness? Not as an actor, like a normal citizen like me.
I think the show is so cool because it takes very traditional values and stories that need to still be told and tells them, but punches you in the face at the same time and punches you in the gut. Like some of these scenes like really get you in the heart, where you're like, oh, I don't know what I would do in that situation. And then on top of that, just epic karate brawls.
Peyton, Mary, thank you so much for your time, ladies.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cholo, Jacob, how are you guys?
Awesome.
How are you doing?
Gonzalo?
Yeah, me too. Jacob, one moment. Cholo, how are your Spanish? You talk.
My Spanish isn't as good as I'd like it to be. I'll leave it at that.
But you are a Cuban, Mexican, from Ecuador descent. Mm-hmm. How is that? Your mother is a Mexican, your father is from Cuba.
I know, it's wow. It sounds like, how much did my mom pay you? That's a question that comes up a lot. And I will say, Spanish was my first language. And then once I got into school, I feel like I lost most of it for sure. But, I'm getting back into it, getting in slowly but surely. But it's definitely still a work in progress.
Jacob, as an actor, which is more difficult to play the role, the bad guy or the good guy?
I would say it's harder to play the good guy just because I like playing the bad guy so much more. I think it's more fun to play the bad guy, you get to have a lot more fun.
Yeah. Xolo, do you think that the fact that the Latin young man is the protagonist of the series empowered to the young Latinos, men and women, to fight for their dreams?
I think that's definitely an understatement. I am I'm more than proud to, kind of be a Latino and be in the position that I'm in to portray this character that's a lead in a show. I think, there's a long way to go. I hope that, Miguel isn't the last of, and I don't believe it is going to be, but yeah, it's a great pressure, and I'm excited to and grateful for this opportunity to, show people that look like me that you can make it for sure. And yeah, I mean, that's all I could go on and on about, how excited
Yes.
I am to get this opportunity, but really it's a blessing for sure.
Jacob, why this series is so coolness? I don't know if the series make in LA. I don't know if the fights. I don't know if the music. I don't know why it's so coolness. Not as an actor, is a normal citizen for you.
Honestly, one of my favorite things about the show is the fights, but it's a lot of the reasons like behind the fights, because in obviously in a lot of like anime and stuff, there's just action for action, but in this show, I think a lot of the stuff is justified. It might not be the most realistic that there's this school-wide brawl going on. Like that probably wouldn't happen in real life, but it's believable once you know all these characters and know their backstory. And that's one thing I really love about this show is that there's never one person who is like, this is the bad guy. This guy is horrible, 100% nasty. Like even for, my character in particular, he starts off being really bullied and is ridiculed and sort of has this great badass turn and then kind of becomes a bully himself. And it's, I mean, I know for me, when I'm trying to portray the character, I want it to be conflicting almost that it's like, oh, like he's bad, but he was so troubled, I feel bad for him. And I think the writers, the writers do a great job of doing that for everyone.
Do you have a tattoo in the real life? Or after
my mom would kill me. My mom would rip it off my back. I wish I would love to get some tattoos. But I don't know if it would happen, but that is a pretty sick tat.
Cholo, how long did you have to research about the Karate Kid saga? I don't know if before being the series, had you seen the saga of the Karate Kid?
Yeah, so I hadn't seen it before, but I think one thing that really helps is that our creators are such big fans of the Karate Kid that I'd say Cobra Kai really does give off the same feelings and really, has the same kind of formula that the original Karate Kid had without making it seem like a carbon copy. And I think because of that, it wasn't super difficult to get into the role of Miguel because he is very similar to Daniel in a lot of ways. He's very similar to Johnny in a lot of other ways. So I think while watching the Karate Kid definitely was a good reference point, I don't think, and I feel like the same can be said for Johnny and Daniel, like they're not the exact same characters. They've evolved over time and really they're very different than the original Karate Kid. So it's
Cholo, Jacob, thank you so much for your time and congratulations for the series, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you, Gonzalo.